today I'm really excited. I have a special guest and my friend Dean Forbes from Florida. Welcome, Dean.
Hey guys, how you doing? Cool. Good to be here, Corey. First of all, thank you for bringing me on the show. I appreciate it. I hope that whatever we talk about today, I hope that Hop Nation gets a lot out of it, and it's a lot of firepower for them to go back and do some big things in their lives. So I'm ready.
Well, you know, what I know about you is it's going to be high energy and there's definitely going to be value. So I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be a fun one.
Me too. I'm ready to go, man. Let's fire them up.
Okay. Well, for the benefit of you viewers who don't know Dean, I'm going to read his bio and then I'm going to get your founder's story on how you got into doing what you're doing. But so answering who is Dean Forbes, if you know anything about Dean, you know he's a dedicated student of influential mastery, transcending limits, and making an impact that matters. His message has moved the needle for others for almost 2 decades because of that passion. Dean embodies the secrets of the masters, those who have the charisma to quickly draw anyone into their vision. He's been practicing for over 10,000 hours across diverse audiences of different sizes. He will show you exactly how he's been able to connect at a deep emotional level with everyone who's experienced his magic. No matter what reality you're living right now, Dean is a coveted, high-impact coach that can help you master your authentic voice, craft your unique message so you can make an impact that matters in the areas of life that matter most to you. Wow.
When you read it, it makes it sound daunting, Corey. When you read it, I'm like, oh my God. Okay.
So how does Dean Forbes get to this point where we're having this conversation?
So, Corey, what I'll do is I'll set it up from how I started on the journey and then kind of just how it culminated, like in a nutshell. So, you know, in some way, shape, or form in my entire life, I've always been the type of person that was trying to help or trying to coach and all of that. However, it wasn't until 2003, thereabouts, I want to say, when I met what I would say is my first mentor. So in other words, somebody I invited to speak into my life. You know, that wasn't a parent. Her name's Ann Mincy. I hope she's not going to mind me saying her name on here, but she's one of my greatest friends right now. But Ann Mincy and I got really close, and then we went to what they call a symposium in Las Vegas, okay? And at Symposium in Las Vegas, we have like 1,000 people there from the company I work for, and we're all dressed in black, and we take over that place like an ants of army, an army of ants, basically. So I was charged to lead the group that was taking care of classrooms, clients, and the gallery where we sell stuff. So when you think about that, I was in charge of about 100 people. So I'm leading those people. So that was my charge of that thing. So Ann Mincy was about to go on stage, and somebody brought me a note as I'm in the middle of like getting everybody ready. She says, Ann Mincy would like to see you. And I said, okay, tell her I'll be right there. I said, no, she wants to see you now. So this is when I've known Ann Mincy now for about almost 6 months, maybe 8 months, okay? And we become close. So I'm like, Ann Mincy wants to see me? Now, she's the senior vice president of sales, okay, of communications at this company. I'm like, this is crazy. Why does she want to see me? So I run down to her dressing room, and I'm walking in all timid right now, okay, because I'm like, Ann Mincy wants to see me in the middle of all this. Why? So I go over to her, and she said, Dean, oh my goodness, so good to see you. And she always has this way of making you feel like the only person on the planet when she's talking to you. She said, so lovely to see you. You have that bright light shining on you again today. Be blessed. And I said, hi, Ann. So what can I do for you? How can I help? And she goes, you know what, Dean? I was sitting here getting ready to go on stage, and I just had this epiphany, and I needed to give you something. I'm like, okay, what? She goes, my pastor gave this to me because he saw something in me, and I'm going to give it to you. And she handed me an index card turned over. So when I turned the card over, one word was on it, Corey. The word was others. And then she said to me, Dean, you are meant to lift other people. Like, honest to God, I still get goosebumps when I tell this story. She said, you're meant to lift other people. Your job is going to be to speak into people's life and make them feel like they're the only people on the planet. Like, you need to lift people. That's your job. That's going to be your ministry of your life. And I started to shed a tear, like one tear. And I'm just admitting that now, but I started to shed a tear because I was like, Ann Mincy's giving this to me. And wouldn't you know it, Corey, what happened from that was one of the speakers that was supposed to be on stage with Ann Mincy at the pep rally got sick and couldn't go. Guess who Ann Mincy says is going to fill in? And she brings me on stage in front of 10,000 people. 10,000. And
That's a heck of a way to launch into the business.
And she said, Dee's going to wrap it up. And yeah, I don't remember what I said. All I know is people were jumping and clapping. And that was the start of the journey that lit the fire that told me that I needed to be on stages and things like that. And then over the course of my career, I've had other mentors, but I've gone to see, people like, Stephen Covey when he was alive, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, and a few others, that are the guy that taught me how to actually facilitate. His name is John Stellato. He taught me how to actually command a room and own it. He taught me almost everything I know about that. And ever since that, I've just unfolded year after year. And for the last almost 2 decades, I've done nothing but that. In any business I've been in, I always go in and help people try to find their authentic voice so they can really make an impact that means something to them. And that's what I'm doing now.
That's awesome. Now, what do you mean when you talk about helping others master their authentic voice, and when and why does that even matter?
So I'm glad you asked that question, Corey, because it took me a while to get to the point where I even knew what I was doing. So here's what that really means. A lot of times, and I'll say to people, have you ever felt like an imposter in your own life, or feel like your own thoughts or voice gets drowned out of your reality? You're living by other people's opinions. The authentic voice I'm talking about is a voice inside that's your compass that tells you who you are and where you want to go. And from that voice, you can set standards. You can craft a message that essentially produces the results that you want you manifest through your authentic voice, essentially. Whatever story that you're telling yourself. And if you need to convey a message to people, whether it be on stage, on camera, on video, online, in person, when you know what that authentic voice is, you can leverage that. You can use it to create a message that is uniquely you, and then you could command massive influence from that. You could make people move the way you want them to move if you master your authentic voice. And if you don't master it, then that's not going to happen for you. I've never known it to be possible for you to move the needle for other people, or even in your own life, if you don't have authenticity around what you're doing. You need to be in it all the way. So that's what that means.
I love it. I love it. Now, how are you different from what's already out there in the marketplace and, in this line of work?
So the way I think I'm different is, there are a couple of ways that I feel like I'm really different. Number one, I have such authentic passion about this, and I think it jumps off the screen or off the stage whenever I talk. So people know that I'm being authentic and they feel it, they know I'm real. That's the first thing. The second thing is, and this is a big one for me, I think I'm able to fill some gaps that's not taught all the time or really ever taught. So here's what I mean by that. Something as simple as, most people don't realize how important it is to embrace their vulnerability and use it as a powerful weapon to teach other people. In other words, when you can humanize yourself in front of other people, they are endeared to you. They go, you know what? I like this guy. I like this gal. She knows me. Okay? And then the third thing is that I think I've really become good at is I know how to enter a conversation already going on in the minds of my clients and my audience. I know how to do that. In other words, it's like when I say, have you ever woke up one day, look in the mirror and felt like an imposter in your own life? People have this conversation all the time. So depending on who I'm talking to, I do the research to make sure I can enter a conversation already going on in their head, and right away I build rapport. So there are a couple of other things I could mention, but those three things I think are the main ones that I think really sets me apart from most of what's going on out there. And, I've listened to a lot of people, Corey. I've heard a lot from different people. And I know a lot of people, they want to be authentic, or they're trying to give really good content. But I think most people miss the mark on leveraging what EQ, your emotional quotient. In other words, here's the way I put it. I'm really big on understanding that if I want to influence somebody to take action or move or even do something I want them to do because I think it's going to make them better, I first have to penetrate their heart. When you penetrate the heart, you open up the mind. Before that, people are closed. And you have to go like a vice grip to try to open the mind. But if you open the heart first, if you penetrate the heart, the mind is yours. Simple.
Absolutely. I talk about the 4 sets. We tend to focus in business or careers on skill sets. So that's physical and technical abilities and developing those, and mindsets and we see that in any performance field, that there's a lot of sports psychologists now with all the sports teams. And so mindset we know is important, but really the most important ones are on the other side. So that gives you transformation, but the it factor is the relationship, the heart set, and then the soul set. And that relational part is the heart and the emotion piece, because every decision and everything that moves us to action is driven by emotion, then justified with logic.
Exactly. You said it right there. You're exactly right. I mean, emotion is life. And, when you talk about the soul set, that's exactly what I believe. And my goal always, when I say penetrate hearts, is about getting a person to really believe or see the world in a different way, because the way you see the world, what you believe, is going to definitely affect your emotions, how you feel. Your emotions are what drive your actions, and your actions drive your results. Okay? So first you got to see something different so you to feel different. Then you're going to do something different. You're going to get a different result. It's very simple.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what I believe. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people think it works, clockwise from skill set, mindset, heart set to soul set. And I'm going, oh, no. It's actually backwards. You need that soul set. You need to know, what's that burning desire? What's your core essence? Your values, beliefs are at a higher order level, and 100%. That then needs to drive kind of the behavior through that emotional and relational lens of the heart set that feeds you, because it's our connection and impact to the people and relationally that is what's going to drive the efforts and behaviors and ultimately the results on the skill set, and then managing the mind, because we all get saboteurs.
Oh, absolutely. We self-sabotage, man. We self-sabotage.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is another thing I tell people all the time, Corey, that all of this stuff we talk about is a journey. People want it to be a destination. It's not. I still self-sabotage. Every time I climb another level, I start to self-sabotage that level. And if I'm not aware of it, I will sabotage myself right out of leveling up. So I've got to take care of my mindset and make sure my heart's in the right place. So I meet people sometimes. I've had clients where they're burnt out. Corey, I can never get burnt out on what I do. You know why? That is in my heart and in my soul. It's not going anywhere. I am never going to be burnt out. I don't have to retire from this ever in my life, because it's just going to come out of me like a pouring lava. You know what I mean? But I take care of it. You got to take care of that every single day. Got to protect it.
Absolutely. And when you're congruent in that way, because it gives you energy versus takes energy from you.
Totally gives you energy.
There's a lot of things that we've probably done that we've had success in, but it's draining for us. We can step out and, high achievers can achieve in whatever they put their mind to, pretty much. But it's when they're doing stuff that's really connected to that core, and their authentic voice is how you term it. That's when they're getting energy and it's filling the tank versus draining it. But more importantly, they're overflowing with it. You talked about it oozes out, and it feeds into the other people that they're serving, and it fills them up. And that's the magic.
That is the magic. I think Stephen Covey said it best. He said, can you imagine climbing the ladder of success all the way to the top, only to find out that your ladder was leaning against the wrong wall? Oh, come on, man. That would be painful, man. I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want that to happen to anybody.
Dude, that's happened to me, and I know it. It sucks.
To me too.
It sucks.
It sucks. Absolutely. That's burnout. That's the burnout right there.
Yeah. Or something, it's burnout, or something's going to bite you in the ass.
Something's going to bite you in the ass. There's no question about it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So tell me, what's one of the biggest problems that you've helped your clients solve?
So one of the biggest problems I help my clients solve, I always talk about, Carrie Mack is a good one, because, and I'll tell you this full story, because this story has a whole full circle come about. And again, goosebumps. When I met Carrie Mack, she's a successful salon owner, okay? Big salon in Ridgeway, Pennsylvania. and she has a group of like, I don't know, I want to say 15 or 17 people that she's got under her, but she was completely depleted, stressed out, burnt out, not fulfilled, didn't have a great family life. I mean, the place was sucking the life out of her. So it was one of these things of, have you ever felt stuck even though you had successes and accolades? Have you ever felt stuck? You know, have you ever felt emotionally drained? Do you have a business or career that literally makes you want to crawl up in a ball and go to sleep every night? That's where she was. But when she hired me to help her make more money. That was the reason she hired me for, to grow her business. So I sat her down in the office, Corey, and I'm talking to her, and I'm going through my checklist. So I do this thing that's called like clicking, and now they call it like 7 levels deep. So, you know, I say, you know, Carrie, what is it that you need me for? What do you need a coach for? She goes, well, you know, I need to grow my business. I need to make money. And I said, well, what do you need to make money for? She said, well, you know, we haven't been profitable in a while, and we just need to get there. I need this company to be profitable. Otherwise, you know, my husband's going to tell me to close it. That's literally what she said to me. And I said, okay, why would your husband tell you to do that? Why is that important to you? She said, well, I want him to know I can do this, that I can make this happen. I don't want to feel like a failure. And I said, well, why don't you want to feel like a failure? She said, well, I don't want people to see me as somebody that started something and then finished. And then as I kept going, I got to like 7. And I said, what are you afraid of? What's stopping you? This is what she said to me. Dean, I'm afraid that one day I'm going to show up and I'm going to disappear. People aren't going to see me. I'm just going to disappear into this whole sphere of what people expect of me, what they want me to do. So her big problem was she wanted to have some level of personal significance in the world. She wanted to feel like I chose to do something and I made it happen. And that's what we worked on for like 6 months to help her get to the point where she had her authentic voice. She could convey it confidently. She could influence a room to come towards her vision because she knew why she wanted to do it. She knew how she wanted to do it. She engaged them in the process. Her whole communication style of how she showed up and her standards of how people treat her, all that changed. Well, Corey, it changed so much that they went from doing 680 to 1.2 million in about 18 months. Okay? But that's not the big deal. No. You think that was a big? No. What happened 2 years. So I coached her for 2 years, and then it was just on retainer like every quarter. She ended up getting colorectal cancer.
Oh.
Yeah, but watch. She was so influential, had become such a force in the community. Her entire team stepped up to run the company the way she would have run the company so that she didn't have to be there, man. They ran it. People around town would just come into her with gifts. I had people that shaved their heads in her town because of how influence had grown. She was able to not disappear because she had cancer, but show up even though she had cancer. Because if it was before we got together, she would have totally disappeared and just died. Well, today she's still alive and she's in remission. She's cancer free. And she sent me a text message a little while back and she said, Dean, thank you for saving my life. That's pretty much what it came down to at the end of the day. And, you know, if I don't be careful, I'm going to get emotional right now because that story is the one I'll cherish forever. Karen Mack is a great lady, amazing woman. And, you know, the fact that she was able to turn on whatever was left inside of her. I mean, it was just a little gash of fire, but we turned that into a furnace, Corey. We turned that into a furnace. And that woman is just amazing. She's amazing. And now she's thriving and the company's still there and she doesn't even have to be there like half the time because it's running on its own. So that is the biggest thing I think I help my clients overcome is to have a sense of personal significance in the world and feel like you left a legacy and done something great. Yeah.
I love it. You know, my first book is called Epitaph Theory and How Do You Want to Be Remembered?
Yeah.
And it was inspired. It was for speech competition that I won a national competition and
nice.
Ended up going to the international one, was second at the international level. And the topic was integrity in business. And after getting the topic, my father got diagnosed with terminal cancer. So the whole idea of impact and legacy was driven home. And it's a lot of times in crisis or, you know, negative situations that priorities become very clear. You know, we're right now in the middle of the COVID, you know, world pandemic, and people's priorities now are coming to light, you know, health, relationships, where
Oh,
people are isolated, the value and that time with people that we can take for granted at times,
yes.
comes to light. So I love it, and what I hear and what you're saying too is that authentic voice creates that, it connects them to the burning desire that everyone has, that
100%.
Joseph Campbell talks about the hero's journey and what's your contribution in the world,
Yes.
and it connects them to that. But then it's not about them. Anytime that we go down this road, we've
Not
talked
about, yeah.
about this.
You talk about, of course, man. This is why I love
Yeah.
this stuff. It's that you're right on the money, Corey. What you're saying. That's exactly the connection I'm always trying to make. And this is why I was called to do this, and I know that. I know it in my core every single day. I'm called to do this, and I'm gonna definitely honor it by being a good steward.
Yeah, and I mean, we know each other outside of this,
Yes.
so it's interesting to see how well it's evolved for you personally and the congruency in that. Like, this is the direct hit. Like,
Yeah.
you've nailed it yourself, so I know with 100% confidence that this is the real Dean Forbes.
This is the real Dean Forbes. Yes, as I said. Thank you for that, man. I appreciate it. So yeah. What's next? How do we like these? What do I want to leave these people, your listeners, with right now? Where are we going now?
Well, I mean, I'm all about high performance leadership, and that for you to do what you do and to maintain kind of the energy and to be up, what are some of your success habits that work for you?
So what I want to do, Corey, here is I want to give you like what my morning routine is, and then kind of how, like you said, how I bookend my day. And I'll preface this by saying there was a time, even in the last, say, 10, 12 years, where I kind of scoffed at this stuff, really. And I would do it sometimes and not do it other times. And I saw what happened in my life when I didn't do these things. And when I say them, I do want to say to the folks that are listening to you right now, I want to say to them, keep an open mind, and don't say to yourself, oh, I do that already, because I did that. And I suffered for it. And I don't want you to suffer for it. So, and because these are simple, but they are so powerful. So first of all, one of the things I do every day is I get up in a gratitude mindset, period. And I know people have heard that before, but I'm in a real gratitude mindset. And how do I do that? When I wake up, before my feet even touch the ground, I take at least 3 or 4 deep breaths, and I count them off like 4, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I take like 4 deep breaths, and I really close my eyes and try to clear my mind. And then I think immediately, what are 2 things I'm grateful for right now? And I don't care what it is. I don't care what they are. I go right. And usually it's a memory from like yesterday, or a lot of times it's my daughter's, because I mean, I'm living for me, but I want them to see something great when they Google daddy 25 years later, say, my dad did that. Okay. So I think of 2 things I'm grateful for. And I always make sure that they impact me in such a way that I get filled with like a warm energy just comes inside of me when I think of what I'm grateful for. And then right behind that, I think of 2 things that I want to get accomplished that day. Now, why do I do that? I do that because, Corey, we have distractions everywhere, and people pull you left and right, things pull you left, phone calls, everything. So if you don't plan already to have 1 or 2 things done that day, you'll never get them done. So I galvanize it in my brain. I need to get these 2 things done. And then I get out of the bed. But to further push that through, I go to the gym and I work out. I put my hip hop music on and I rock out, and I start telling myself, I just start going through what I went through when I was breathing, and I say, okay, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful I'm working out. And I say, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that, and blah, 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 blah. And then what happens is I'm able to cut the distractions out during the day to the point where I do these things, and then I get distracted by other things. So I do that routinely every single day. And at the end of the day, I check myself. When I go back into bed, I do the same breathing exercise. I think of 2 things I'm grateful for. A lot of times it's the same 2 that I had for the day, unless something else crazy happened that day. And I'm like, wow, so glad that happened. And then I go, did I accomplish what I wanted to accomplish today? So here's what's really important. There are days when you don't accomplish what you've accomplished. So this is what I want people to understand. I think of the thing that I did get accomplished, even if it wasn't those two things. Usually what happens when I wake up with that mindset of gratitude, if I end up doing something else that wasn't on the list, it's usually something that drives me even closer or deeper into my purpose. That's crazy, right? I mean, it could be not the two things I said I was going to do, but the thing that I did was totally worth it. Totally worth it in terms of driving me further towards my goal, in my purpose, and living through my passion. So those habits, to me, I've now embodied those in some way, shape, or form for the last at least 5 years. And I mean every day for 5 years, waking up in that gratitude mindset. And it absolutely works. And Corey, it works in the toughest times because, you know, I had a divorce that flipped me on my head, you know, just a little while ago. Paperwork is just now finalized, and that's 3 years in the making. And you know, for lack of a better term, it was a bitter ex. I mean, it wasn't a great thing when it started out, and I had 2 daughters that are in the middle of all this. So in the toughest time,
believe me, I understand. I think we've had this conversation.
Yeah. So this is in the toughest times is when you need to do this. You have to do it. And if you don't have a morning routine or something that gets you up in that gratitude mindset every day, then you show up and whatever can go wrong will go wrong. You get hit with Murphy's Law and then your whole day is shot. And people live like that, man. That's painful. And I got to tell you, Corey, these days, my pain tolerance is this small. I don't like any kind of pain where I know I can control or influence the outcome of something. I'm not going to do that right now. No, I don't like my feet held to the fire that closely. So I do these things to make sure I stay out of that pain and I go live abundantly so I can give more to people. Period.
I love it. I love it. And I have a question, and I've never asked this, and certainly there's no prep for this, but I want to throw this out at you. What is your biggest challenge or biggest fear? How's that?
Yeah. Okay.
Because you're talking about authentic self and how, you know, vulnerability is tough for people, and it's not until we do that. Yeah. And I thought maybe asking this question, like, it came to me because you exude strength, confidence, energy, and you have all these success things, and everything's dialed. Yeah. But we know that there's teams where stuff goes off the rails, and we have saboteurs and that. Yeah. So what are you most challenged by?
Yeah. So I'm going to say this, and thank you for asking the question, by the way. And you know what? If I'm going to live through my purpose, this is a question that I do want to answer. And I'm glad that you're asking it, because I always challenge people to be authentic and be transparent and live your truth. Here's my truth. And I know people might be blown away by this. I suffer from doubt a lot. Yeah. I mean, the doubt demon comes to me almost on a daily basis. I have to beat it down with a billy club, Corey. The doubt demon, because look, Corey, you know, this thing that we do, sometimes it's like, okay, who cares? Who are you to like speak that way into people's lives? Why should they listen? All these, I have those little voices in my head. So if I don't wake up with this gratitude mindset and do my exercises, it wins, basically. So, you know, I did a video on my page about how to deal with doubt. It's a funny way to do it. And if people want to check it out, they can on Dean Forbes' page. It's a funny way to handle doubt. And that's how I manage doubt every day. But I definitely struggle with doubt. And I struggle with things like, and then this is since my whole separation from my ex-wife, one of the things I struggle with is, am I going to be good enough for my daughters? Like, will they still love me the way they used to when we're together now that we're apart? Am I doing enough to be like a good dad? Am I involved enough? You know, will I make enough money to make sure that they have options? Because I never, ever, ever, Corey, want to go back to being broke. I never, ever, ever want to not have options. And I never want to be not in control of my life. So those things, those questions, they still plague me. So no one be fooled. You know, they still plague me. So those are some of my like biggest fears, if you will. I just have learned that, yes, I fear it. Yes, my gut feel like it's going to fall out right now, but I got to take this leap, because if I don't, I don't know if I can stand the pain of not trying to do it. I don't know that I can do that. So that is, yeah. So thank you for the question, but that's where I am.
I appreciate it, because it personally resonates with me. And, you know, one, I have two daughters like you. In fact, they're close in age to yours.
Yeah.
And we've had this conversation before that, and I forgot, but you know, I was getting chills, and it got me on an emotional level because I think we all have imposter syndrome at some point. You know, if you're stepping out of your comfort zone, the minute you're out of your comfort zone, you don't know what you don't know, and it's uncomfortable. So that's where doubt will come in.
Oh, it's coming.
And where, you know, we can self-sabotage, but that's where magic and growth happens, is when you step out. And then, you know, the priority, it's very clear, you know, health and your daughters are your priority.
Our priority. You know, Corey, you just said something. I want to tell you, because I know this is going to serve your people. One of the worst things about having to deal with those fears, and if, you know, there are people out there, obviously, that haven't been through the learnings and the lessons we've been through and done what we've done, which is all fine. But here's the thing that really is, it's a real disservice to people. And this is it. When you talk about doubt, now imagine you have this in your life. You have people who actually validate your doubt. Say, you know what, you're right, man. It wasn't going to work anyway. You probably shouldn't have done it. There are people in your life that you let do that. Like, people let people do that. Now, here's the worst part about that. You have some people, they don't say you couldn't have done it. They don't say you can't do it, but they say things like, yeah, I get it. I mean, maybe you should just do something else. I understand. I support you. They use those positive words, but it's not support. It's, can I say bullshit? It's BS.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's straight up bullshit. And we end up listening to this type of bullshit like it's something good. It's not good. It's not good. The people you surround yourself with are people that have to lift you up. They need to smack you in the head and say, hey, Dean, what do you think you're doing? No. I thought you said this was your passion. I thought you said this was your purpose. Well, you're lying to either me, yourself, or whatever, but you're not doing what you're supposed to. Look, I love you, but this, what you just did, that's BS.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of people you need in your circle, because people will validate your BS. People will make sure they tell you you can't do something because they believe they can't do it. And that will happen all the time. And you get sucked into that vortex, and all of a sudden you're down a rabbit hole that you can't come back from because you don't have a cat down there to help you like you did with Alice in Wonderland. You know, and then that's it for you. Crazy.
Well, and that limit or fixed mindset is prevalent. And sometimes people do it with a worthy intent even.
They do. I know. That's what I'm saying.
Parents are doing it all the time. Teachers, it's like, oh, don't set, you know, your sights so high. I don't want you to be disappointed or whatever. Like, that's crappy advice. Like, it's
crappy advice.
That's like, don't limit people. Like, we lose the dreamer and our ability to step out. It's so conditioned, you know, and socialized into us that we need to get that out and, you know, and recapture some of that lost dreamer. And, you know, like, how many of us, you know, pretended to be a superhero when we were kids before school? Think of what you thought you would do and be. And, you know, I think of even just crazy physical feats like jumping stuff with my BMX and stuff, not knowing limitations. And, you know, you get the scrapes and bruises, you know, thank God I haven't killed myself type thing. But,
you know, hey, Corey, listen, you mentioned bringing the dreamer back in you. And it just hit me with a story that this resonates right here. This is how crazy we are when we are adults. We stop being a dreamer. I remember I was bringing my daughters home from school, and this is like 5 years ago, and we lived in Jersey at the time in this like townhome neighborhood. So I'm driving them home from school. My younger daughter, Nzali, she's the witty one, always seeing things where there is nothing or whatever, right? And we're driving, and it's winter time. So driving into the neighborhood, and when you're coming through the gate, our house is towards the back, so it's about 1.5 miles in, okay? So we come in, and she goes, oh my God, Daddy, look at the books. I'm like, sweetheart, what books? She's like, Daddy, look, don't you see them? Look at all the books. I'm like, looking around, I'm like, Nzali, I don't see any books. She goes, Daddy, come on, look at the books, they're open, look at the books. And I'm like, Nzali, what are you talking about? Now, Corey, watch this. I'm tired. I got so frustrated with my daughter, okay? I stopped the car, Corey. I stopped the car, no lie. I swear I once might ask my daughter about this. I turned around. You know how the parent turned around on the seat? You look in the back like you want to see her. I said, okay, Nzali, stop this right now. There are no books out there. I don't know what you're talking about. She goes, Daddy, no, look at the rooftops. They look like open upside down books. Think about that, Corey. Open upside down books. I was like, look at her mind where she is. Why can't we be like that? I should have been asking, okay, baby, can you explain to me where you see the books? That's what I should have been saying. Instead, I'm ready to scold her for telling me nonsense or for lying or something like that. That's what I was ready to do. And she could see the books clear as day. I remember that to this day, and I never, ever dismiss things that people tell me anymore until I've explored it completely and fully. And even when I have, and even if I disagree, it's, hey, you know what, man? You see what you see. I don't see that, but you see what you see, and I appreciate it. Thank you. Instead of stop talking, you're full of it, or blah. But that's what I was about to do to her. People do that to us all the time, and unfortunately, 96% of us on the planet usually accept it, and that sucks.
Absolutely. You know, as you told that story, I got goosebumps, and I mean, at an emotional level, I connected, and the thought, kind of the eureka in that came to me was, we need to ask more questions and give less statements and opinions, and more questions to move to a level of understanding and what you said, openness. Because we can be focused, which when we are focused, literally we're having to put blinders on. Otherwise it's very difficult to focus. You need to be, centered, but there's times where we need to go wide and
look at the peripheral.
So that's gold, man. And I'm looking forward.
With me.
I'm conscious of time. I know how busy your life is right now.
Crazy busy.
We're going to have you back, because I know you have some stuff coming out in the fall, and bunch of stuff. You're a fun guest. Love to have you back on. Before we go, I want to ask a question. 100th birthday celebration. Who do you want there? What do you want them saying about Dean Forbes?
Well, I definitely want my daughters to be there. I want my wife to be there, because I believe I'm going to get married again. So she's not here yet, but I believe I'm going to get married again. So I want my wife to be there.
Dude, when people see this and see you, I'm going to feel like probably a dating service, where the floodgates can open, man.
So on that note, Corey, then you have to be there, because you brought me on the show and asked me the questions. So you got to be there to witness what's going to happen. And, I would love, my father probably won't live to see my 100th birthday, but I like him to be looking down from heaven and watching that. And I want somebody like Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins to be there too, because they lit a fire in me that started all this journey. So, I don't think I could list everybody I want to be there, but I definitely want the people to be there that I've loved the most in my life. I don't even care if they love me. I want the people that I've loved the most to be there. Period. End of story. And what I wanted to say is, Dean was an authentic guy, passionate about his purpose, who lived it fully and shared it with every person that he touched. He was a guy that lived a full life and just made an indelible impact on the world that can never be erased. So instead of being a footnote in history, he's a whole chapter, and quite frankly, might as well be a book. That's what I wanted to say when at my 100th birthday, period.
Beautiful, buddy. Is there anything you want to leave our listeners with right now?
Well, definitely for your listeners, I want to make sure that they look out for Impact That Matters Mastermind, and to follow the trend of how that's going, they could check out my Facebook page, Dean Forbes Page. Really simple. It's my name and page at the end. So facebook.com/Dean Forbes Page. I do a lot of free trainings on there, and I go live every Monday with exclusive training, and Impact That Matters Mastermind will launch on that page as well. And Corey, I will get you any finer details later on as well, so you can go ahead and push that out.
We will make sure we put those links in the podcast notes and post, and Thank you so much for your time today, Dean. And thank you, Hop Nation listeners, for tuning in. Looking forward to seeing you next week.